नमस्ते एंड बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद.
Thank you, very kind of you. I'm sure this is going to be a learning experience for me as well, so thanks for making me a part of this.
सर एक पैसेज इसी से मैं शुरू करना चाहता हूं. वक्त से जुड़ी डिबेट के मूल में तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति है, पॉलिटिक्स ऑफ अपीजमेंट है. ये तुष्टीकरण की राजनीति कोई नई नहीं है, इसका बीज हमारे स्वतंत्रता संग्राम के समय ही बो दिया गया था. आप सोचिए, भारत से पहले, भारत के साथ साथ और हमारे बाद दुनिया के कई देश आजाद हुए, लेकिन कितने देश ऐसे थे जिनकी आजादी की शर्त विभाजन थी. आजादी के साथ ही वो टूट गया. भारत के साथ ऐसा क्यों हुआ? क्योंकि उस समय राष्ट्रहित के ऊपर सत्ता का मोह रख दिया गया. ये प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी एट द राइजिंग भारत समिट लेस देन 24 आवर्स अगो.
Yeah, Anand, I think जो प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा है, nobody could have summed it up better than what he's done in a very polite, very subtle manner, which has, of course, very crude connotations. And since you raked up this, I'll ask you to give me 2 or 3 minutes because I have always had very strong views on this. And I have gone on record, in fact, I have written a number of times, also said once in the parliament, that the partition of the Indian subcontinent was possibly the greatest blunder in the recent history of the world. और एक बड़ा मूल प्रश्न ये है, nobody raises this, who asked for partition? There was no public demand, there was no yearning in any section of society. It was just the ambition of two individuals, Nehru and Jinnah, because you couldn't have two prime ministers in a single country, so they carved out one each for each one of them. And the British Empire made the best use of this ambition of theirs to divide. In fact, Mountbatten initially had another plan to divide it into 3 parts: Hindustan, Pakistan, or Princesstan. Thankfully, thanks to Sardar Patel, he didn't let that happen. But जो बुनियादी सवाल जो कहीं नहीं बोला जाता वो ये है कि in fact, while the so-called political protagonists of Pakistan were demanding an Islamic state or Islamic nation on the basis of two-nation theory, the common man, even in the Muslim community, was opposed to it. There was a forum of the Muslim intellectuals and Muslim writers called the Progressive Writers Forum, जिसमें साहिर भी थे, जिसमें कैफी भी थे, मोहसिन भोपाली भी थे. They had actually very vehemently opposed the idea of partition. So much so that, and in fact, even when this happened, they were so disgusted that they had no hesitation in writing about it. फैज अहमद फैज वहां चले गए तो वहीं थे लाहौर में, तो वहां से उन्होंने लिखा कि ये दाग दाग उजाला, ये शब गुजीदा शहर, वो इंतजार था जिसको ये वो शहर नहीं. When he saw the riots happening, and Sahir went to Pakistan actually, but he stayed there for about 2 years. I think somewhere towards the end of 1949 he came back very disgusted, and he wrote immediately कि ए रहबरे मुल्क बता, ये किसका लहू ये कौन मरा. And then later on, a few years later, he went on to write another beautiful poem, which of course Raj Kapoor incorporated in one of his movies. जब दुख के बादल पिघलेंगे, जब सुख का सागर छलकेगा, जब अंबर झूम कर नाचेगा, जब धरती नगमे गाएगी, जिस सुबह की खातिर मर मर के हम युग युग से जीते हैं, जिस सुबह के अमृत की धुन में हम जहर के प्याले पीते हैं, इन भूखी प्यासी रूहों को एक दिन तो कर्म फरमाएगी. So what I'm trying to say is that in the immediate aftermath of partition saw bloodshed, displacement, the biggest ever exchange of populations happening anywhere in the world. And in the later aftermath, after a few years, it was food scarcity, poverty, a long spell, which even India had to bear. Under the same Prime Minister, who happened to be one of the protagonists of the partition, or maybe facilitated Jinnah's two-nation theory. And the two-nation theory itself, if you see academically, evidently fell short of vindicating itself. Varna Bangladesh na banta. The very basis, the East Bengal was made a part of Pakistan, was because of its Muslim population, which didn't happen. Then you wouldn't have this kind of disenchantment, discontent happening in Balochistan, which you witnessed today. Or even in the Pak occupies Jammu Kashmir, which of course was not a part of the partition. Redcliffe ने जो line खींची थी वो तो अलग थी. And that Redcliffe is itself a case study for you. You know, the story of Redcliffe, he was an attorney. Lord Mountbatten wanted a legal expert to do so. So he came here. He stayed there just for about 30 days or so in Delhi, didn't move out. But they say he was a great brainy guy. So he drew a line on a map, depending population ka study karke, and that came to be known as the Redcliffe line. In fact, Firozpur ka hissa bhi katne wala tha. So then there was a rethinking, कि साहब जम्मू कश्मीर बिल्कुल ही कट ऑफ हो जाएगा. And then this link came. And intelligent as he was, because I have with me about 500 books on partition, written by Indian victims, the Pakistan victims, those who went abroad and settled because there was a window period, you could choose even a Commonwealth country. And of course, last month only one young lady journalist from UK has written a book on the families. And there are also books written by the British authors. And one of the British books mentions that when Redcliffe's task was over, he handed over his documents to Lord Mountbatten. He had at the back of mind that this was going to be disaster. So he wrote a letter to his stepson. He said, my task is over. I'm coming back before more than 1 million people rendered homeless come looking for my blood.
So he knew what he was doing.
Yes. But that suited Jinnah, that suited Nehru, and that also very much suited the British rulers.
Allow me to ask you this. Is this the BJP and the current disposition's obsession with pushing down Nehruvianism and Nehruvian politics? Or is it just bringing front and center our history, our itihas like it was? Because it's difficult to believe कि दो लोगों की महत्वाकांक्षा या कुछ लोगों की महत्वाकांक्षा जैसे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कहा, उसकी वजह से इतनी सारी जनता का नुकसान सह लिया गया. Nobody liked the bloodshed that happened. 3 million people died, got displaced, and there was so much bitterness, and those lines are still drawn.
No, absolutely. I totally agree.
Would you really want to say that it was just the power-hungry ambition of 2-3 people and a collective that destroyed this entire subcontinent?
Yes, to a very great extent. And do you know something? Even Jinnah, I don't know how far ideologically or by conviction he was subscribing to an Islamic state. It was more of a mission. And in the very first speech in the National Assembly of Pakistan, he said, look, now our objective is over. Now everybody would be equal. And one more fact which is not much talked about is that on the 14th of August, the midnight, when Pakistan was granted independence, the very first national anthem was written by a Hindu poet called Jagannath Azad. और वो किस्सा यूं हुआ कि Jinnah asked for a panel of poets who would have to write this. And when he noticed the name of a Hindu young poet, he said, look, let's have this. So it might send out a message. And the phrase of Jagannath's anthem was something different. It was like Sar Zameen Pakistan. It was dedicated to Mother Earth of the new country, nation. And then, of course, later on, it got changed. Then Hafiz Jalandhari wrote, jo aajkal hai,
Jeeve Pakistan.
That's right. So, and the same night, Jagannath used to tell us, he's of course no more, he was Professor Emeritus of Iqbal. Even after partition, he kept visiting all the universities across the subcontinent for his Iqbal lectures. He used to take quite a lot of sadist pleasure in narrating कि जब मेरा ये बन रहा था कौमी तराना, तो उसी वक्त प्रिसाइजली मैं वहां से भाग रहा था कि मेरे कुछ मुस्लिम हमसाए वहां से आए, तो उन्होंने कहा साहब आपका तराना तो बज रहा है, बड़े खताब की बात है, लेकिन कहीं ऐसा ना हो कि ये जो राइट चल रहा है यहां आप मारे जाए और हम आपको बचा नहीं पाएंगे. So they managed his safe passage into this side of the territory. And therefore, what it means is that it was traumatic, not only physically, it was also traumatic psychologically. It took a toll of every aspect of human existence.
So you agree when the Prime Minister says that this is a thought continuum?
Yes.
And I'm bringing it front and center because the Yuva of today, do they need to understand their history? Do they need to be colored by their history? Or do they need to accept and move on? What do they need to do? Because what the PM is saying is, और आप भी यही कह रहे हैं कि there is a fundamentalist कट्टरपंथ thought process, एक विचारधारा, along with those जिनको सत्ता की भूख है, who are hungry for power at all costs. Is it a combination of these two? And this continue?
Absolutely.
So is the Waqf to be seen from that perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. The two are intertwined and they tend to supplement each other to the convenience of these handful of. Now, going back to the part that you said about the Nehruvian, is it just deliberate that part of BJP agenda? No, because we live in an evidence-based era, so it is not that if I say somebody has to agree. I'll give you just 3 examples which have been, proven or disproven with the passage of time. 3 of Nehruvian initiatives. First, of course, was Article 370, which he himself told Mukherjee in the Constituent Assembly meeting, when Mukherjee asked him, could we have a rethinking, he said, Dr. Sahab, ye ghis jayegi ye dafa. But he was proved wrong because his own successors didn't want it to ghissify. They found a vested interest in A. Second, his China. Sardar Patel kept warning him, but यहीं पर इसी दिल्ली की में चौवनलाई को परेड कराया गया था in an open car, and just 3 years later there was the Chinese attack, तो वो भी खत्म हो गया, the Chinese policy. Third, the non-aligned movement. Non-aligned movement died its death in just 1 decade, because Mrs. Gandhi was the one who did that. She got into an Indo-Soviet accord when there was an imminent threat of Pakistan aggression happening, and US at that point in time siding apparently with Islamabad. तो वो भी खत्म, non-aligned भी खत्म. तो 3 जो उन्होंने कॉन्सेप्ट दिए थे वो तीनों उन्हीं के 10-15 बरस के अंदर खत्म हो गए. And this, of course, this appeasement became a convenient tool for vote bank politics. And then it went on and got deeper and deeper. And of course, वक्फ भी उसी का नतीजा आया, शाहबानो भी उसी का आया. But BJP, right from the beginning, from the times of Sama Prasad Mukherjee, has followed the mantra, the basic mantra of appeasement to none, justice to all. So justice, not to a single section of society, justice to every section of society, including Muslims, including Hindus, including Buddhists. So why should we have a different policy for someone who is subscribing to a particular religion? So it's, I think, doing justice to even the Muslim brethren. It's not doing them any harm.
Sir, there is a serious thought process now कि हिंदू आपको वोट देते हैं, आप उनके लिए कुछ नहीं करते. मुस्लिम्स लार्जली बीजेपी को वोट नहीं देते, आप उन्हीं के लिए सारे लेजिस्लेशंस पास कर रहे हैं. इंस्टेंट 3 तलाक हो गया, वक्फ हो गया. तो देयर इज दिस होल थिंग कि जो वोट दे रहे हैं उसके लिए कुछ नहीं कर रहे हैं, जो वोट नहीं दे रहे हैं उनके लिए आप कर रहे हैं. एंड ऑल इन द गार्ब ऑफ ट्रेइंग ओके जस्टिस फॉर ऑल, अपीसमेंट.
इसीलिए मैं कहता हूं कि मोदी जी ने इस देश में हमारी राजनीतिक संस्कृति को बदलने का काम किया है. ही इज ट्राई टू ब्रिंग अ चेंज इन द वेरी पॉलिटिकल कल्चर ऑफ दिस कंट्री, द वे द पॉलिटिक्स इज प्रैक्टिस्ड. ये नहीं है कि उसने वोट नहीं दिया तो उसको नहीं देना. ये कांग्रेस का कल्चर था. हमने देखा एक पानी की जल की ड्रिंकिंग वाटर की नालियां पाइप्स डाली जाती थी. जिस कॉलोनी में जनसंघ वाले होते थे वो उसको छोड़ देते थे. पर मोदी जी ने पहले दिन से ही कहा कि मेरी सरकार गरीब को समर्पित, किसान को समर्पित, महिला को समर्पित. जो वंचित है उस तक पहुंचेंगे, जो पिछली सरकारों की खामियां रहेंगी उसको पूरा करेंगे. हम ये नहीं कहेंगे. आपको हैरत होगी, मैं कुछ समय तक संगठन की ओर से काम देखता रहा यूपी के वेस्टर्न यूपी का. मोहल्ले के मोहल्ले जहां केवल और केवल मुसलमान बसते हैं, प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना के तहत पक्के हो गए. मैं उनसे जाके पूछता था, मेरे पास वीडियो भी अगर आपको दिखाएंगे. वो कहते साहब हमसे पूछिए. तो फिर हम कहते थे कि पिछली बार वोट नहीं दिया था ना, तो वो मुस्कुरा के कहते, जवाब ना देते. तो मुझे लग रहा है कि मोदी जी ने ये वोट पॉलिटिक्स से बढ़ करके, हट करके, ऊपर उठ करके एक नई राजनीतिक संस्कृति का आगाज करने का प्रयास किया है इस देश में. वी हैव टू रीच आउट टू दोज हु नीड अस, देन लिव टू द विजडम ऑफ द पर्सन whom to vote for. तो ऐसा नहीं है कि अगर किसी ने वोट नहीं दिया तो उसके लिए करना नहीं है और किसी ने दिया तो उसके लिए ज्यादा करना. फिर कांग्रेस और इसमें फर्क ही क्या रह गया? एंड दिस इज प्रिसाइसली द रीजन व्हिच Sama Prasad Mukherjee cited when he founded the Jansangh. He was asked by RSS what was he looking for. We would look for a kind of an approach where we would be part of the decision making. At the same time, we would not follow the policy that Congress has been following.
So you're saying you're trying to change the political discourse and the approach to governance. Let me also just quickly ask you on this entire political part of it, that do you plan to continue going down this path? And should history need to be revised? जगहों के नाम बदल दिए, शहरों के नाम बदल दिए, या मान लीजिए जो ओरिजिनल नाम थे आपने रिस्टोर कर दिए, जिस तरह से भी आप उसको देखना चाहें. Is this not revisionism? What do you want the yuva to do? Should they read history, accept it as it is, and then move on, or should they be colored by it and say, "ओछा ये तुमने स्कूल में गलत पढ़ा, अब ये पढ़ो और इसी के आधार पर अपनी धारणाएं बनाओ"?
नहीं, ऑनेस्टली स्पीकिंग, जो आपने पहला पार्ट पूछा कि वुड यू लाइक टू गो डाउन, आई थिंक आई एम टू स्मॉल अ पर्सन टू रिस्पॉन्ड टू सच अ लॉफ्टी क्वेश्चन. देयर आर, यू नो, leaders sitting out there, policy makers. I'm just an ordinary karyakarta. But having said that, having been groomed,
This is how he underplays his role.
No, sorry, but having been groomed and trained in the political culture of the party that I belong to, I think even if you take it from the point of view of youth, it's one of the best times happening for the youth of India. And if you give me 1 minute, I'll explain to you 2-3 levels. Because as I said, we've been taught to speak with the evidence. Otherwise, the youth don't, accept. आजकल तो वो जमाना है कि माता पिता भी कहते हैं बेटे को कि भाई फ्लां पार्टी को वोट डालो, तो वो फेसबुक से निकालता है कि पिताजी देखिए कितना दुष्ट आदमी है. So you can't, carry yourself with a youth like that. लेकिन, in fact, the other day in the podcast, somebody asked me, any regret and any wish? I said, no regret, because God would be angry if I started regretting. But wish, of course, I wish I was a youth in this age and times.
You're the second leader to say that. On the Rising Bharat Summit platform, second political leader to say that you are lucky that you are in this generation.
No, I tell you how. I tell you,
please.
First, the opportunity that is available now was not there. We were just about 350 startups in 2014. Now we've gone to 1.75. We are number 3 in the startup ecosystem. Our global innovation index was 81. Now we are 39. We were taken very non-seriously as publishers of some research papers or even researchers. Today, we stand number 4 in number of publications. Now, some of the cynics say, no, आपकी publication का standard और होना चाहिए. Oh, that's because you can say, but publication आनी तो शुरू हुई. Till 30 years back, there was no habit of documenting in this country. In patent, we are number 6. And you know what is the difference now? 55 to 56% of the patents are Indian residents. यहीं पे पैदा हुए, यहीं प्रशिक्षण हुआ, यहीं काम किया, यहीं शोध किया और यहीं सक्सेस स्टोरी निर्माणित की. नहीं तो पुराने जमाने में ये भी एक लाछन था कि अरे क्या हुआ, हरगोविंद खुराना था तो आपने क्या किया, वहां गया तो उसको नोबेल प्राइज मिला. चंद्रशेखर, अब ऐसा नहीं है. The second level, I tell you, there's so much of unleashing of opportunities happening that I am witness to it, because we have a number of schemes even to facilitate some of the youngsters who want to come back. We have a web hub scheme for young scientists, researchers, innovators to come back if they wish to. We incentivize that also. So many of them want to come back. But my advice to them is कि भाई अगर आप जा रहे हो तो 5-6 साल का प्लान करके जाओ. ये ना हो कि आप वहां जाके सोचें कि वहां जाके फिर प्लान करेंगे. तो होता क्या है कि once 5-7 years are gone by, then the other factors, extraneous factors, take over. Once your children are in the adolescent age, you want to come back, but your children say, okay, you choose between us and choose between going back. So the other factors come in. Tisra, the esteem. In my age, if an Indian went to the West and introduced himself as Indian, he was not taken very seriously, not even looked up to. Today, there is a premium on being known as an Indian. Do you know, we were in Berlin last year. There's so many of Indian startups, 12 food outlets, because they also combine entrepreneurship. मैंने उसको पूछा, भाई ये 12 खोल दिए फूड आउटलेट, यहाँ तो इंडियन डायस्पोरा ही नहीं है. तो बोले, सर ये सिर्फ हिंदुस्तानियों को थोड़ी खिलाया है, हमने तो अंग्रेजों का टेस्ट बदल दिया. And most of the European startup groups had Indian boys and girls. So I asked one of the European heads of the group, I said, why do you prefer our boys and girls? You know what he said? उसने एक लंबी फहरिस्त गिनवाई, ये, and in the end says, the best part is they don't take a weekend off. So इतना सारे गुण ये अब समझ में आने लगे. So if you go out, even Pakistanis are now introducing themselves as Indians. That means there's a definite premium on being an Indian. So the esteem has gone up, and that has raised our confidence. That has also raised our aspiration level. अच्छा, you look at the civil services, for example, because I'm also dealing with the academy.
Yeah.
एक टाइम था जब आपकी civil services में आंध्र प्रदेश, केरला, तमिलनाडु, यहाँ से बिहार वगैरह जो ट्रेडिशनल. Now you have toppers from Punjab, toppers from Haryana. You have 30% girls. For 3 years consecutively, I think 15, 16, 17, we have 3 girl toppers. पहले वो ईरा सहगल आ गई, फिर वो एक टीना डाबी, फिर नंदिनी. ऐसा लगने लगा कि ये तो अव्वल नंबर रिजर्व हो गया. So that rising of aspiration among the youth has also happened because now they feel that they have an equal opportunity. पहले तो होता था साहब ये हमारे बस के बाहर है. And I think the credit again goes to Prime Minister Modi. You remember, which is not often recalled now, soon after this government came in, because I happen to be associated with DOPT, one of the first decisions in the first 3 months was to do away with that practice of getting your documents attested by a gazetted officer. And that sent out a huge message. Look here, now this is a government and now this is a Prime Minister who has the capacity to trust the youth of this country. When you have a population more than 70% below the age of 40, how can you do business without trusting? कल तो फिर आप बच्चे को भी कहेंगे अपने को अपनी मार्कशीट किसी तहसीलदार से या डीसी से टेस्ट करा के यार नहीं तो मुझे एतबार नहीं है कि सच्ची है कि झूठी है. You have to learn to. And the second major decision which he announced from the Red Fort was abolition of the interviews for selection. वरना ये भी इल्जाम आता था कि जिसको 100 अंक मिलते हैं रिटर्न में उसको इंटरव्यू में फेल कर दिया जाता है, और जिससे कोई नेपोटिज्म है, कोई भाई भतीजावाद है, कोई लेन देन है, उसको इंटरव्यू में कर दिया गया. एंड प्लीज आई थिंक मेनी इन दिस रूम मे नॉट अंडरस्टैंड, इट्स नॉट एन इजी डिसीजन फॉर अ पॉलिटिकल डिस्पेंसेशन टू टेक. हमारी लोग कहते हैं साहब अपने लोगों का क्या होगा, लेकिन ये भी पॉलिटिकल कल्चर बदलने का काम मोदी जी ने किया कि सभी के बच्चे हमारे बच्चे हैं. We have provided a level playing field, and that is a cumulative outcome of the increase in opportunities, increase in aspiration, rise in esteem. And that's why I say, for all these reasons that I have tried to cite in the last few minutes, this is one of the best times happening for the Indian youth.
Makes a lot of people want to think that they should have been born sometime in the early 2000s so that they would be in the prime of their youth. But 2047, last 2-3 minutes, I just want to ask you, 2047, will space travel be possible? Will Bharat be sending tourists to moon and beyond? Is it possible? I think we've got a former astronaut also with us, Mr. Scott Kelly is there, and we'll try and spot him somewhere. Yes, Scott, hi. So I'll come to you for a question if you'd like to ask, because he's our Science and Technologies Minister also. But let me ask you, is space travel going to be possible?
But of course,
Yeah, we're sending a mic across to you, Scott. Yeah.
No, but as of now, as we go by the schedule that we have laid out for ourselves, and if we are able to move as we have envisaged for ourselves, we hope to land an Indian on the surface of moon by the year 2040. So that's going to be a great accomplishment.
Let me go up to Scott, sir. Sorry. Yeah. Yes.
Well, that's in 15 years. My brother said at one point, he used to say, particularly about going to Mars, it's not about rocket science, it's about political science, meaning the money. So I think you probably have the technological capability. It's really whether you want to make the investment or not. So I'm confident if India decides that they want to land an Indian astronaut on the moon, as an example, in 15 years, assuming you make the investment, it's absolutely possible.
He's saying 15 years. Can we do it faster, sir?
Yeah, well said. That's precisely the schedule that we have laid out for ourselves. 2040 is the year where we hope to land an Indian on the surface of moon, and before that, by 2035, and India's own international space station, which will be named as Bharat Space Station. So, see, technology-wise also, Anand, I think broadly speaking, we should realize, and that's why I say that one of the best times happening for the youth. Today, we are running in the same level as any other nation in the world. For example, we are among the 4 or 5 nations in the world who are into quantum technology. We have a quantum mission. We are the first who have come out with a vaccine in COVID. Now, the importance of that is that India was never taken seriously as a healthcare nation, even our society. अगर कोई बीमार हो जाता है 3-4 दिन इंतजार कर लो. अगर ठीक हो गए तो माता का आशीर्वाद, माँ जी का. नहीं ठीक हुए तो पिछले जन्मों का कर्म. So we had homemade placebos.
Right.
Now the same country which was not taken seriously by the world as a serious country, not taken seriously for curative healthcare or therapeutic healthcare, is being seriously taken as a global leader in preventive healthcare. देखिए कितना बदलाव आया. और इसी तरह से टेलीविजन, फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इट हैपेंड इन अमेरिका इन 1950s. आप देखिए पिछले जितने प्रधानमंत्री हैं, जवाहरलाल नेहरू हैं, लाल बहादुर शास्त्री, आप आर्काइव्स में जाइए, उनके जितने भी टीवी इंटरव्यू तब के हैं जब वो विदेश गए तो बीबीसी ने उनका इंटरव्यू लिया. बिकॉज टेलीविजन हैपेंड इन दिस कंट्री ओनली अराउंड 1970. आपको आधे घंटे का चित्रहार देखने को मिला, और तब तक वहां कलर हो चुका था. And the famous election 1960 where John Kennedy turned the tables on Nixon happened because of a TV debate. But here हमें पता ही नहीं था TV क्या debate है. Now thanks to guys like you, now you are at par. We are no longer 15 years behind them. So that also has added to our esteem, also added to our the opportunities, and added to the kind of perception that the rest of the world holds about India, as has been now said by Scott.
True. And Scott Kelly will be in session and he will be on stage in a short while from now through the course of the day 2 of Rising Bharat Summit 2025. But for the moment, we've got to call it a wrap. Dr. Jitendra Singh, amazing, engaging conversation as always. Thank you so
Anand. I
much.
enjoyed it.
Big round of applause for him, please. Thank you.